A very good morning to you all. Today in this video we will be discussing 4 articles of the Hindu editorial page. Today is 17 June 2020. The first article is regarding Nepal ties and to the Benaras and to Bengaluru spectrum, and the second article is regarding the Tamil Nadu lockdown till June 30. The third article is regarding the rural India, the new of viral flashpoints. The fourth article is regarding the quota, a quota politics. Affirmation actions must go beyond the search of short-term political dividends. Before I begin, I am Prashanth. I welcome you all to Educational Stuff by Prashanth Konala. If you are first to my channel, I request you all to subscribe so that you cannot miss any update or the video which I am doing. Let's get started. This is a cartoon today. This cartoon shows that the crude oil prices dip, petrol prices still high. There is a hike in the prices. Yet another move by government. That is the picture which depicts the situation. This is the first article. It is regarding Nepal ties and the Benaras, the Bengaluru spectrum. Benaras was a keystone of India-Nepal ties for centuries. B.P. Koirala, the doyen of democratic politics in Nepal, was one of the residents of the city. So too was Pushpal Shrestha, one of the founders of Communist Party of Nepal. Many in bureaucracy and politics have studied at Benaras Hindu University, it is in Varanasi, and Nepal's intellectual software was largely coded there. Till the 1980s, an easy and affordable way to reach Kathmandu was to fly from Benaras. When the flight stopped as the takers became insufficient, today one of the most profitable sectors for Nepal Airlines is Kathmandu-Bengaluru. Here, a burgeoning colony of Nepali program work for the storied Indian tech companies creating software for the world. The change equation symbolizes both the changing India and changing Nepal. The obvious change in Nepal is that it is now a democratic republic after nearly 250 years of a big monarchy. The Nepali Congress and a Maoist leader, Prashanth, claimed democracy in 1990 and the abolition of monarchy as their legacies. More persuasive is the societal change from Nepal's exposure to globalization. Geography too stands to change, with the Chinese now having the potential to bore through the Himalayan and exhibiting their presence in Kathmandu in economics and politics. The constant in Nepal is a nationalism which is really a mask for anti-Indian sentiment. Our politicians use it as a personal gain, and it is deeply ingrained in the bureaucracy, academics and the media. Today, Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli is cementing his legacy as a nationalist by extending Nepal's map into Indian territory. The cartographic aggression and embedding of the new map in a country's national emblem and a constitution are untenable and should have been avoided under all circumstances. But this is not for the first time Nepal had thumbed its nose at India, even at the cost of its people's well-being. 2015, Nepali Congress government adopted the new constitution, ignoring Indian concerns. The instinct to cut off the nose, to spit the face, is visible in the lack of progress on game-changing 5,000 megawatt Pancheshwar hydroelectric project. Nepal's viable hydroelectricity potential is 40,000 megawatt. The country generates only 1,000 megawatts and it must be import 6,000 megawatt from India. Identity politics with India is also visible within the country, where Nepal citizens from Terai, that is Malaysia, feel discriminated being as an Indian. To Nepal, their attitude reflects the angst of small state. To India, Nepal appears incorrigible. Shift with globalization. After democracy was restored in 1990, passports were more liberally issued, and Nepalese began looking for work opportunities globally beyond just India. West Asia and Southeast Asia specifically became major destinations for labor migration. Security uncertainties with the Maoist insurgency at home also propelled the trend of migration. Students and skilled personnel began moving to Europe, United States, Australia, Thailand, and even to Japan and South Korea. As of 2019, nearly a fifth of Nepal's population from all the parts of the country were reportedly overseas. At an estimated of $8 billion, global remittances account for nearly 30% of Nepal's nominal GDP, making it one of the most remittance-dependent countries in the world. Leftist ideology and the prominent presence of international and national non-government organizations ostensibly there to resolve conflict and alleviate poverty have added Nepal's exposure to the world. A link despite diversification. Kathmandu had continued its long-standing efforts to spread Nepal's options beyond India. Multilateral development banks are far the biggest lenders and players in the country's development efforts, and in fact one of the Nepal's largest aid donors is European Union. India and China are not only the players for a big project either. A long delayed project to pipe water into Kathmandu was with an Italian company. Major investment in the telecom sector are coming from Malaysia, and the largest international carrier in Nepal is Qatar Airways. The outward movement of the students along with the growth of institutions of higher learning at home has meant that most young people in Nepal, including emerging contemporary leaders in politics, business or academics, have not studied in India. The lack of common collegiate roots remove a natural bond of previous generations that had provided for a better understanding and even empathy. Today, when the most Nepalis understand Hindi because of the popularity of Bollywood, articulation is quite another matter. But despite Nepal's efforts to diversify its options globally, its linkage with India remains robust. Nepal trade with India has grown to absolute terms and continues to account for more than two-thirds of Nepal's external trade of around $12 billion annually. This clearly reflects the advantage of geography, both physical and societal. India continues to be the largest aggregate investor in Nepal. The massive under construction of Arun 3 900 megawatt hydroelectric project is slated to singly produce as much power when completed in 5 years as Nepal produces today. Moreover, the peg with the Indian rupee provides unique stability to Nepali rupee. Nepal's per capita income is just above $1,000. While the huge remittance economy has brought a semblance and well-being, the country has a long way to go in reaching prosperity. The relationship with India, with the open borders and the Nepalis being allowed to live and work freely, provides Nepal a unique advantage and an economic cushion. There are the focus areas. India, for its part, should also focus on developing its borders areas with Nepal, which with better roads and amenities for interest such as shopping malls to the burgeoning Nepali middle class. This would have been economic pulses for both sides, keeping ties strong at a people's level. Given the cultural and ethnic commonalities befuddles and draws anger in India when things go wrong with ties with Nepal. Those responsible for bringing things to such an impasse must be held to account, but it is important that we update a prism through which we view our relationship with a Himalayan neighbor. This is regarding the Nepal ties and the Benaras to Bengaluru spectrum. India needs a new prism to view its relationship with the Himalayan neighbor, that is, keeping in the mind of past the future. Second article is regarding the rural India, the new viral flashpoint. The initial misplaced optimism that India is somehow protected from COVID-19 pandemic has proved to be illusory with the rapid escalating numbers of cases and deaths in urban India. The urban blight is so intense as to occupy the entire attention of the healthcare workforce or planners and policymakers. The medical services in these urban areas, Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai to cite the three major epicenters of epidemic have been overwhelmed, judging the reports available every day in the public domain. It shows that it is clearly unprepared. We are now facing only the fury of urban wave of epidemic in India. Remember, 65% of country's population is rural. They have been relatively underexposed with very few cases and deaths. Thus, the large vulnerable majority in rural India is yet to feel the heat of this epidemic. This is a pervasive and false confidence among the general public that somehow rural India will escape with a minimal casualty. The recent, that is, limited restoration of public transport and the relaxation of the restrictions on this movement of the people are developments that have set the stage for inevitable and even more dangerous wave of this epidemic. Just as importations from other countries through air traffic set by the stage for urban blight, importations from urban to rural India will set a stage for rural wave. We need to remind ourselves that rural India is clearly unprepared to face these epidemics. Contrast in healthcare, there has always been a urban-rural divide in India in healthcare and education, the two vital indices of the human development. This deficiency have been very costly not only in terms of rural lives and livelihoods but also overall national wealth creation. The first wave, the urban wave of COVID-19 tsunami, is overwhelming over relatively better urban healthcare resources. One can imagine the predicament of rural India with its already deficient healthcare resources when it faces the rural epidemic tidal wave. The lockdown of the entire country led to paralysis of urban and rural life synchronously, while the urban and rural waves of this epidemic are clearly asynchronous. The rural wave is just beginning while the urban wave is at its peak. We find the rural people are going about without masks or physical distancing, congregating in marketplaces and places of worship. This portends an imminent catastrophe, yet unrecognized and therefore inadequately anticipated for risk mitigation. Administer the social vaccine. Now is the right time to implement the social vaccine, a prophylaxis before the rural spread of this epidemic. A decentralized approach with participation of the stakeholders in each village, taluk and district is the need and potential of the day. The most important step would be to educate rural people with all the tools at our disposal: print, radio and electronic media and messages through mobile phone. We need not to give them an accurate information language to make them clear understand that their self-protection and the protection of their families entirely in their hands. The two behavioral changes are critical. Every man, woman and child must wear a cotton cloth mask when out of the home and observe strict hand hygiene. All the elders and any person should be cocooned by reverse quarantine, wearing masks, interacting or while interacting with others. Proceeding step by step at the state, at the district levels, we need a systematic approach. It must entail blocking urban-rural importations, quarantining those who move from red zone to green, diagnosing and managing clinical COVID-19 syndrome with or without positive PCR test results, and providing field hospital exclusively for isolating and managing COVID-19 cases by younger and therefore less vulnerable medical and nursing teams. Simple clinical diagnosis criteria are available with the writers of the article. At the same time, we need to protect and sustain existing hospitals and primary health centers not be frequented by COVID-19 patients, but for providing care for all other medical, surgical and obstetric emergencies. Mildly and moderately symptomatic COVID-19 patients should be managed by home isolation, delivering essential and medical supplies at home, and home monitoring of oxygen saturation by readily available portable figure pulse oximeters. Each such patient should be followed up daily by a designated medical professional. If they are caught napping at a crucial hour, it will be a monumental error for which we need not to forgive ourselves. State health administrators and the medical fraternity have the knowledge and skill to tackle the rural wave with courage and wisdom. Regarding the viral flashpoint of rural India, how they can overcome from the COVID-19 cautionary. The next article is a lockdown, that is on Tamil Nadu govt's lockdown order in Chennai. Tamil Nadu government decision to impose a complete lockdown in Chennai, parts of neighboring that is Kanchipur, Tiruvallur for 12 days from June 19th is a response to rising apprehension that the coronavirus pandemic has spun out of control. When such a measure was resorted to earlier for 4 days from April 26th, the cumulative cases in the state were around 1,821, but they have now snowballed to just over 46,500 cases in June 15th. Mortality has also risen in spite of many curbs from earlier lockdown or being retained during the unlock 1 phase, such as absence of bus transport. The AIADMK government has done well to learn some lessons from the previous full lockdown. Essential, it has allowed 3 days in the neighboring district to prepare, yet it is preventable ballooning of the cases that had necessitated fresh lockdown now. With some determination, steps such as a free distribution of masks, public could have been nudged into healthy behavior. But such leadership was absent, and rising cases numbers led to pressure for another strict lockdown, including some retail traders. The state government appeared to be confused, initially denying any such plan and even informing the High Court to that effect. The nation's experience with the lockdown makes it clear that this is a blunt weapon useful for the brief period and to support a clear plan of action. Some studies points to be heightened or impact of the activity freeze of urban poor who have to cope up such pressures by liquidating their savings and may have to be worsened off for their rural counterparts. In Chennai, the pressure due to lockdown has been prolonged, although the state have tried to ameliorate the impact with a free supply of essentials now being promised around 1,000 rupees to ration card holders and to the disabled. But the effect of the full lockdown runs deeper, and the relief measures before the disadvantaged must be augmented. Now that some air and rail services are on, passengers with the tickets must be helped to use these facilities. There is also a case to allow door delivery of all the materials of e-commerce sites, barring in containment zones. Tamil Nadu's latest measures seem to have caught some sections of industry such as automotive sector that depends on stable supply by surprise. The economic today is complex, and more transportation, the transparent and consultative approach is necessary to plan for the future. During the full lockdown phase, the government must cohere to make up for the lost time, distribute masks to all, bring all about compliance in mask wearing and physical distancing, help densely populated areas, and make testing universally available. Regarding the norms, how the Tamil Nadu government should take during the lockdown in order to curb this coronavirus pandemic. The next article is regarding the quota case and quota politics. Quota politics is back in play to favor, this time, students from the government's higher secondary schools in Tamil Nadu. The cabinet's nod on Monday for the ordinance to create a horizontal 7.5% reservation of the state's quota of seats in medical colleges, a well-intentioned move to address the problem to poor representations of government schools in MBBS or BDS courses, which have been in the existence even prior in the introduction of NEET admission. The issue of inequity has come for the criticism against NEET, which came into the operation of Tamil Nadu in 2017. Since then, there has been a high decibel campaign against NEET, and the AIADMK government, led by Eppadi K. Palaniswamy, on the ground that the design and the form of the test are loaded against the students' rural background, the backward classes, government schools, scheduled castes and tribes. Like in the other cases, the other professional course entrance test, most candidates clearing NEET in Tamil Nadu are invariably those who undergo private coaching. It also lasts for the 3 years of AIADMK regime, a weed closer towards the BJP-led government. Despite the authorities asserting the NEET is neither a communal reservation nor weaker section, the campaign appears to have had an impact during the 2019 Lok Sabha polls, as the DMK-led front won 38 out of 39 seats. Now, the state's latest decision comes into the back door of this factor and also the next year's assembly elections. It is unclear whether the horizontal reservation will pass legal scrutiny. In February 2002, the Madras High Court quashed the horizontal quota of 25% in professional courses for higher secondary students or from schools in villages panchayats. This time, the state had acted on a panel recommendation which concluded that there was a cognitive gap among students and government schools, given the perception that those from the CBSE stream enjoy greater advantage in NEET than the students from state board. Those backing the latest quota cite special reservation for differently able, an agreement in Karnataka of 15% of being set apart for rural students seeking professional courses. Apparently, there is nothing in a NEET's rural against states providing special reservation out of their quota of seats, position articulated in 2017 by former Health Minister and BJP President J.P. Nadda in favor of rural students. The trends of horizontal reservation is happening with respect to a national law university for students from the host states. It is debatable whether the test of backwardness can be stretched to any extent, although the equity principle is important. While poor representation in professional courses from the vulnerable sections is a symptom, the causes are deep-rooted. A holistic and sustained approach to improve school education will alone pave the way for lasting solution. Regarding the quota case, and affirmative action must go beyond the search for a short-term political dividend. So this is my Facebook page. You can follow me from the Facebook page, and also from Instagram. I have given the link in the description. You can follow me and you can comment from there, and I have given my website details where you can follow me, comment. Thanks for joining me. Before I conclude, I request you all to subscribe to my channel. Have a great day.